The Lost World Jurassic Park is a fine movie, I guess. It's got the occasional great scene, the occasional terrible scene, but mostly it's a mass of mediocrity. And to make sure that we don't get lost in that world of mediocrity, I'm gonna rank every scene in The Lost World from worst to best. In last place, we have the scene where Dieter shocks the compy. And this scene is so obvious about what it's trying to do. It's trying to set up Dieter as a jerk so that the compies will want revenge on him and so we can have a set piece later in the movie. But its utter lack of nuance is laughable and it makes the scene feel like a waste of time. At number 33, we have Malcolm on the subway, and I just don't buy this scene's exposition or character development because it all comes unnaturally and in a burst from this really talkative bystander who somehow recognizes a random scientist from the incident at Jurassic Park. In the 90s, I don't feel like random bystanders are gonna recognize Ian Malcolm, but everyone on the subway does, and I don't buy it. At number 32, we have the final scene in the movie, and it's hard for me to have it here because I love Richard Attenborough's performance in Jurassic Park, and I love the music here, but Hammond is indirectly responsible for all the death and mayhem in each of the first two movies, and he's not in this movie enough for this character moment to feel earned.
These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help.
I mean, Malcolm says it earlier in the movie that Hammond went from capitalist to naturalist in record time. Then again, the T-Rexes undergo a similarly rapid evolution of their characters. They went from being the apex predators of the universe to just being a couple of cute parents on the side of the road that other dinosaurs are okay with just walking by with nary a glance. At number 31, we have the brief scene where Roland questions Carter about Dieter. And this scene is not bad, it's just utterly pointless. You lose this scene, nothing from the movie would have changed. Oh, I'm sorry, you'd lose one asshole character not having the respect of these men, while another asshole character does have their respect. Riveting. At number 30, we have the characters escaping from the island, and this scene is the perfect example of how Steven Spielberg just took shortcut after shortcut in this movie. I mean, the scene opens with Sarah escaping from the raptors by just falling through the floor and conveniently into Kelly and Ian's arms so that they can immediately transition into running to Nick, who's magically with the helicopter waiting for them to arrive and escape. And this all plays like a giant chain reaction with triumphant music, but it really feels like the movie version of playing Mousetrap, which is not a compliment. I mean, that's a great board game, but that's not how a movie should flow. But kudos to the visual of seeing the tranquilized T-Rex from above. At number 29, we have more shortcuts, this time with the characters. It's the scene where Malcolm and Sarah are arguing about Kelly. And this is like elementary school level exposition, because characters are just telling us their character traits and just sort of describing how each of them could improve as people. And it's very inelegant. Its only saving grace is I get quite a chuckle out of this.
Silence, please. It's privacy. Outside.
I'll do.
Kelly, what are you doing? No, what are you? Hey. Don't go out there. It's not safe. Stay in here. Come back.
At number 28, we have the scene where Nick is exploring the InGen facility. And this is a decent subversion of expectations. Everything about the way the scene is filmed, framed, and directed. It's pretty suspenseful. Like, everything feels like it's leading up to Nick's death, or at least an attack. But once you've seen the scene once, that's more than enough. This is not a rewatchable scene. Like, once you know this is a subversion, all the suspense is gone. At number 27, we have the scene in San Diego where the characters discuss getting the Rex back in the ship. And this is probably the most momentum The Lost World has, the section in San Diego. And this scene carries that momentum pretty well, even if the San Diego stuff is pretty dumb, so kudos to that. But a big pet peeve of mine in movies is when the story starts getting sillier and sillier, and yet the characters act like it's no big deal. Like, they came up with this plan so fast and so confidently, and it's such a chaotic situation that I can't imagine any of this working out. But they're all like, yeah, let's get the T-Rex back in the cargo ship. Let's just do this, that, and this, and it'll work out perfectly, and just sort of strains credibility. At number 26, we have the boat ride towards Isla Sorna, and this is a moody and atmospheric and well-directed scene, but the dialogue is awful, just awful.
Cinco muertes. They call the islands Las Cinco Muertes.
What does that mean?
The 5 deaths.
This is treated like it's a big reveal, except Ian Malcolm is on this boat. He would have been telling all of the characters about, hey, this is my experience on Isla Nublar. Probably going to expect something similar here. Lots of deaths. There was at least 5 deaths in the last movie, so how is this a good scene. At number 25, we have the raptors in the tall grass, and this is this low despite this incredible visual of the raptors stalking their prey in the grass. But it always bothers me how all of the disposable characters bite the dust in the grass, but then when the main cast arrives, the raptors are magically gone. This movie is just an exercise in convenience, and I don't like convenience in movies. At number 24, we have the first scene of the movie when the compies attack the little girl. And this is really well crafted and a good hook into the movie, but the characters just feel like blatant, rich British stereotypes.
What are you? Little bird or something?
Just because Alan Grant mentioned that dinosaurs had more in common with birds than lizards in the first movie,
Maybe dinosaurs have more in common with present-day birds than they do with reptiles.
doesn't mean you can have an unrelated character in the next movie look at what looks like an obvious lizard and then be like, hey, you must be a skunk. At number 23, we have the scene after the main T-Rex attack where the various characters discuss their next move. And this is not an elegant scene like so much of The Lost World. The characterizations are extremely broad, the scene is overloaded with exposition, and there's just a lot of meaningless conflict. But the thing with conflict is, as meaningless as it is, it can still be somewhat interesting if it's framed properly, and Spielberg knows how to frame a dialogue scene. Plus, I really like Roland's line.
Oh, you're breaking our hearts. Saddle up. Let's get this movable feast underway.
At number 22, we have Ian and Sarah tranquilizing the T-Rex at the end, and the lead up to this scene is dumb, and this big hero moment is completely unearned, but damn it, sometimes when John Williams and Steven Spielberg are working together and on, not on all cylinders, but on a couple cylinders, things just elevate themselves magically. So a silly ending to the stuff in San Diego, but hey, sometimes spectacle finds a way. And at number 21, we have another example of San Diego spectacle courtesy of Steven Spielberg and John Williams. It's the scene where Ian and Sarah get the baby T-Rex. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't like their plan in this sequence, but damn it, I love the music here, and I love this shot of the car heading into the San Diego version of Jurassic Park. At number 20, we meet Ian's daughter, Kelly, and this scene falls into the trap that The Lost World falls into too often. That is, characters are just telling each other their motivations.
Yeah, but I want you to crack on me a little bit. Ground me or something. Send me to my room.
But as unrealistically as this conversation flows, this is a necessary character beat for Ian. Him being a family man at least gives him a little bit more variety than just having him be this mopey chaotician that he is for so much of this movie. At number 19, we have Roland and his disposable sidekick tracking the T-Rex nest. This scene is really atmospheric, but I feel like it's the rare occasion where Spielberg doesn't hold on an environment long enough for me to really get a feel for it. I would have liked to have seen more of the nest. Still, I think the jump cut from the nest to the baby T-Rex in pain is surprisingly effective and emotional. And I don't like what they do with Roland. Like, they try to give him shades of gray, but him injuring the baby is digging his character deeper and deeper into a hole. I don't like him. Though, one way to dig oneself out of a hole is to just listen to John Williams' music. And that's what number 18 on this list is all about. It's a scene where all the characters are trekking across the island, and this scene is all about just soaking in the atmosphere and the splendor of the island. And I think this is the closest that the movie feels like it's a grand adventure. But the scene ends with a thunk because inelegant storytelling is back with some of the most obvious foreshadowing possible. At number 17, we have the Stegosaurus attack, and like a lot of the scenes that I've been talking about, this has its good parts and its bad parts. Like, the Stegosaurus stuff is mostly good. Like, the attack is fine, even if it lacks, some of the ferocity that I'd want out of a Jurassic Park action scene. But it's good to see the Stegosaurus after they were absent in the first Jurassic Park, so that's a positive. My negative is Sarah. She's just been introduced, and she's extremely obnoxious immediately because she says that they need to not interact with the animals, but her hypocrisy is what stirs up the Stegosaurus in the first place. At number 16, we have a scene that I like, but I want to like it more. It's the scene between Hammond and Malcolm. And this has all the hallmarks of a good Spielberg exposition scene. It's got exposition via character development and fun interactions between characters that I like. But it also sums itself up as basically saying, Yes, Jurassic Park happened, but now there's another island, and it's called Jurassic Park 2. I mean, Isla Sorna, so movie start. At number 15, we have the T-Rex in the suburbs, and the best way I could describe this scene is it feels like a Super Bowl commercial. There's no suspense whatsoever. It's like an alternate reality. The characters talk like they're in a sitcom, animals interact with each other cutely, and it feels nothing like Jurassic Park or hell, even the first hour and a half of The Lost World. But it's so memorable, and it's so self-aware. It knows how dopey it is that I have to have it this high. At number 14, we have Dieter's death through the compies, and Dieter is an obnoxious character who's just there to be an asshole to the compies so that we can foreshadow his eventual death. So like, all of that baggage handicaps the scene to start off with. But once we get to the scene, this is a fantastic Spielberg set piece. Just this building sense of dread with Dieter out alone in the woods. It's something I think anyone who's gone camping or hiking can relate to. And the idea of all these tiny scavengers just sort of swarming and picking at him, and he's getting more and more wary as he's going. The scene is just very unsettling. At number 13, we have another jackass character death. This is Ludlow to the baby T-Rex. And this scene lacks the suspense that Dieter's death scene has, but there is a great visual of the T-Rex coming down behind Ludlow. It does get very cheesy when the movie treats it like this big, like, heroic moment when the T-Rex instructs its baby to maul Ludlow. Yes, he deserved it, but at what cost?
Spared no expense.
The reason this is higher than Dieter's death is you could have cut Dieter's death out of the movie and nothing would have changed. Ludlow's death is actually kind of like integral to the story of The Lost World. At number 12, we have a scene that's up this high because of how notable it is and how iconic it is. Because without those things, it is so stupid. It's the scene where the T-Rex breaks out of the cargo hold. This scene works because of that banger of a final shot and because of the incredible tension that Spielberg's able to draw out when the ship is approaching. Those moments speak to a visual storyteller just working his magic. The rest of the scene, though, speaks to a visual storyteller working at half speed. The fact that all these crew members are dismembered in the ship, despite the fact that the T-Rex is safely in the cargo hold, this scene is structurally idiotic. At number 11, we have the game trail, and this is a very energetic and varied and fun set piece that's incredibly different from anything we saw in Jurassic Park. The transition into the scene is jarring, like geography-wise. I have no idea where this game trail is located. And then as usual with this movie, just very lazy character development. It's just Roland yelling his character traits at Ludlow. Still, the energy in the scene is great. And I feel like this is the point in these rankings where Spielberg's strengths as a storyteller start to outweigh all of these nagging issues with this movie. And the next two scenes are perfect examples of that. There's nothing notable about the number 10 scene, the one where we meet Eddie and Nick. This is the rare exposition scene in this movie where we learn about the characters without them over-explaining themselves. And there's clever blocking and camera movement and just a lot of action on screen that makes the exposition more interesting than it has any right to be. This is what Spielberg does. And same thing with the number 9 scene. It's the scene immediately after the Stegosaurus attack where Ian and Sarah are arguing. And I hate how the scene ends with Kelly just showing up. It's incredibly contrived. But damn it if the scene isn't visually spectacular. Like, all this exposition is mostly occurring during this long tracking shot of Ian and Sarah walking like through and behind the trees. These are the visual flourishes that I love in these movies. At number 8, we have Ian and Ludlow's first scene together, and I loved Ian Malcolm in the first Jurassic Park. I do not like him as the lead character in this movie, but this is the only scene where I find Malcolm's mopiness to be effective. Just that simmering rage he shows at Ludlow. And I also like seeing Lex and Tim. Like, I don't feel like it's fan service. They don't overdo it. They're gone pretty quickly. Not a fan of Ludlow, just like so many other characters. He just explains his motivations very obviously with no nuance, no subtlety, no deft touch. That's kind of The Lost World in a nutshell. And at number 7, we have a scene that throws all attempts at subtlety, nuance, and deft touches out the window. It's the T-Rex rampage through the streets of San Diego. And this is why ranking the scenes in The Lost World is a major challenge, because I just keep going from like good scene to bad scene, but like my enjoyment of the scenes is like all over the place. It's all muddled and confusing. Because this is not a good scene, but damn it, I think it's incredibly fun. Tonally, it is so out of sync with the early parts of the movie, but it's kind of riveting in this bizarre, disconnected way. And once all that spoof nonsense is over and the T-Rex is chasing Ian and Sarah through the warehouses, there's still a lot of fun to be had. It's still dumb because, like I said earlier, I just don't buy that they would be able to lead the T-Rex to the cargo ship this easily. This feels more like a GTA mission than something real characters could actually do. But still, in a movie this muddled scene is good enough to be number 7 or number 8. What am I at? I think I'm at number 7. Everything is muddled here. And if the last scene had zero suspense but was elevated by the silliness, this next scene is incredibly tense and is undermined by one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in any movie. It's the raptor attack. The actual attack in the scene is fantastic. It feels like Spielberg took everything he learned in Jurassic Park from the raptor attacks in that movie and just multiplied it here. It's non-stop, and the set pieces are so creative and so frenetic. Just all of this is fantastic and creative and just flows from one thing to the other. Like, it flows so well that it's almost like the Lost World is doing a gymnastics routine.
Kelly? Kelly, no!
My daughter has gymnastics tomorrow morning, and I don't think I can take her. The pain is just too fresh for me right now. And yet, this scene is still number 6 on this list. I mean, the scene has so much merit. It is one of the tensest scenes in the entire Jurassic Park series, and that has to mean something.
The school cut you from the team?
At number 5, we have Nick and Sarah breaking the dinosaurs out while Ludlow briefs his corporate brethren. And this scene represents the Lost World's lost potential. The conflict between these two factions could have been pretty riveting, and at this point in the movie, this scene feels like it could be the powder keg to set things off, which the movie does not take and run with because these groups just end up becoming frenemies later on in the movie. But for this scene, where it's placed in the movie, I think it's pretty effective. I like seeing all the animatronic dinosaurs. I like the simultaneous aspect of Nick and Sarah releasing dinosaurs while Ludlow is Ludlowing. And I think the surprise of the Stegosaurus, or Triceratops, I can't remember which, bursting through the camp is a really well executed shock. And at number 4, we have me realizing that I accidentally skipped from number 5 to number 3 on my Excel spreadsheet. There is no number 4. At number 3, we have Nick and Sarah treating the baby T-Rex while the others hide in the hide. And this scene is all about setting up the eventual T-Rex attack, but it's done in such an atmospheric way with some good dialogue, and it is very suspenseful. This is not Spielberg at his best. I mean, the ringing phone is kind of a cliche, but it makes sense for them to ignore this in this situation. And I do like that moment when you see the trees just rustling as the T-Rexes go through the forest. That's a magnificent change up from the rippling water. Just gives the T-Rexes in this movie a little signature of their own to differentiate it from Jurassic Park. And it has a genuinely funny moment between two characters that I loathe.
Spit. Your gum.
At number 2, we have the T-Rex attack in the camp, and this is a great scene. I just love how this is such a different kind of T-Rex attack, with the T-Rex just chasing after a huge gang of people. There's a couple of gruesome deaths. The scene in the cave is very intense, but it's the opening of the scene inside of the tent with Sarah and Kelly. Man, that scene is terrifying, and John Williams' music, not a huge fan of it in this movie, but this is my favorite bit of his music, even if it doesn't sound like standard John Williams fare. And at number 1, we have the double T-Rex attack. And let me get this out of the way. This is very derivative of the T-Rex attack in the first movie. It feels like we've been there and done that. Yet, this scene's magic is in how Spielberg differentiates it. Because I called it a double T-Rex attack, but that's not really what it is. The T-Rexes show up, knock the trailer off the cliff, and most of the scene is Ian, Sarah, and Nick trying to escape from the trailer while they're dangling over this cliff. And then Eddie shows up with the winch and has to rescue them. There's some phenomenal camera work, incredible tension, incredible creativity. It's an easy number 1 in this list, Despite having minor issues like saving the most vicious death for the only character in this movie that's truly likable, and for having some jokes that just land with a thud.
What, anything else? 3 double cheeseburgers with everything. No onions on mine.
I don't know, we'll turn it over.
So there you have it, my rankings for every scene in The Lost World. And you can tell that I struggled with it a bit because I had a complaint about pretty much every scene. This movie, I enjoy it, it's just pretty mediocre and hard to not quibble with a lot of things. But if you enjoyed my quibbling, please like and subscribe to my channel.
No.